Hey friends, I'm just popping in to give you the permission to simply be. The recording that you're about to watch is from a live Zoom chat that I did just specifically for students, with students in mind, to intentionally connect with students, get how they're feeling, allow them to feel, give permission to do the work and try to figure out how to manage the things, but also work on yourself, find yourself, sleep, breathe, allow yourself to feel, because this is something that's impacting us all, but I understand that it could be impacting you from various ways, right? Not being able to go to the classes in person, or having to transition to all online, or just having things just shaken up, right? And being disconnected. And if you're a graduating senior, my heart is with you. It is my hope that your commencement ceremony is postponed and not canceled, or that you're able to tap into a future graduation ceremony if that's something that you so desire, or you're able to plan something amazing with your family and friends after this is all over, whatever that looks like for you. Towards the end, there was some open Q&A, and there were some great questions that were asked, and some dialogue that was done between people participating. If you would like to connect with me in any space after watching this, be sure to find me on all the things. My name is Tabitha D. James on Facebook and LinkedIn, Miss Tabitha D _ on Twitter and Instagram, and www.tabithadjames.com. So enjoy this, soak into this, allow yourself to feel, and let this be a time that you relinquish control, because guess what? You don't have control. You don't. And so for all my control freaks, we don't have control, and it's okay. So every day is not going to look the same, and there are going to be some days that are easier than others. There are going to be days that you're just like super productive, and days that you're not. But allow yourself to just wake up every day and be, and show up, and whatever that looks like, right? No pressure. No pressure.
Help us
Easier said than
kick it
done.
off by just saying how you feel. So I have some notes here that I kind of want to dive through about just finding your happy place and finding your peace in all of this, and not being overwhelmed, and tips and tactics and things like that. But before even diving into that stuff, and I don't even want that to be too heavy, because I want there to be like a sense of understanding that this is just a difficult and different time for everyone, no matter what a person, no matter the economic level, the educational level, their ignorant level, whatever it is, we're all facing some sort of challenge and change during this time. But as a student, I can only just imagine what it feels like to still have to go to class, or virtually go to class, or figure out class, to complete assignments, to try and be in tune with peers, people that you maybe thought you were going to see. If there are any seniors on, you may or may not have, that big celebration they like to call a graduation. And I'm sure that that's heartbreaking, right? But before we dive into those things, there's anyone that wants to unmute their phone and maybe share some of the like feelings and emotions that are around this, because as I transparently say, I don't have the answers, but it is my hope that there is something that I can say, or something that I can share that can just provide that spirit of peace, that motivation in a time such as this, because it's definitely a taxing time. So somebody, anyone want to tackle that for me?
Well, I personally don't like the online setting because I have a hard time motivating myself, and I was already taking 2 online classes. And right before this started, I was getting good at not doing all my work on Sundays and starting it on Mondays. And then, boom, we go on online. So that's a little frustrating for me.
Yeah, I can understand. Anybody else want to share some pain points that this transition is bringing about, outside of just transitioning to online? Online learning is definitely not for every class and not for every person. So that's going to be a shift, if you will. Anybody else want to share some pain points that this is bringing? Good morning. I see someone else join. If you will mute your phone, but jump in the chat and let us know who you are, where you're joining from. Orange. anyone, I don't want to volunteer anybody, so someone be a brave soul and share something that is a pain point for them right now.
Hello, everyone. I know for me, I'm a grad student. So not only am I taking on like my own feelings, but I'm taking on the feelings of my students that I have to work with every single day. And it's kind of hard to like see them trying to transition through all of this and helping them trying to navigate. So I'm also not only helping myself, but I'm trying to help my students as well. And that can be a lot at times. And then also, like the other young lady said, it's online learning is hard. And then being a grad student, like usually my classes are 3 hours long. So trying to figure out how we're going to sit and watch a professor talk for 3 hours, that transition is just a lot. I think it's just a lot of like overwhelming feelings. I shared with Tab, like my birthday is this weekend and I'm just going to be in the house, like we like to celebrate those things. And just like all of that is just like, well, and so my alternative was going to be Black Alumni Weekend to kind of connect with everyone. And that was also this weekend. So not having that's just hard, like connecting with people, and we need that like time to come back and talk to people and connect. And since we're not having that, it's just kind of difficult.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks both of you for just sharing some of those general pain points. And Lord knows, I wish I could be like, here's the answer to this. But first of all, I never went to school during the pandemic. But second of all, it's like, who has answers at this point? As you are checking in, if you are, to the news, which I hope is something that you're not over consuming. That's one of my major keys in this is don't over consume what's in the media, right? The news, the media, the people that relay information, that's their job, to relay information and to keep us watching. So not to say ignore everything and not be aware of what's going on, but don't get over consumed in it, because that can create a sense of panic that you don't need right now, right? Classes may return back to normal before things for most universities and technical institutions, things have been transition to online for the rest of the semester, right? But you will be able to find your new normal if you create that within yourself, right? That is going to look like jumping on some Zoom calls or some FaceTime calls or some group chats, and not always laughing and not always doing schoolwork, but trying to like mesh the two and find your happy in this new normal. Because one thing that this teaches us, outside of a pandemic, life just happens, right? Life, a part of being in this world and living and being alive, is that things happen. And oftentimes we have absolutely no control of them happening. We don't know when they're going to happen. We don't know how they're going to happen. And we don't know what they are going to look like, right? So not putting things off to tomorrow that we can do today, because we don't even know what tomorrow's going to look like, right? So finding your happy in it, finding your new norm, finding out what it looks like, and realizing that what it looks like today, it's March the 24th, right? What your schedule looks like and what your ability to navigate this looks like today, it might not look like that tomorrow, right? It might not look like that next week. We are just living in a very uncertain time, and it's uneasy. It's not gonna get easy per se, but if you just allow yourself to be the human, be the student, be the employee, if you're still working, be the person, and take every day one step at a time. And for those of you who maybe like myself and like to have a lot of control, this is our chance to relinquish control and really just trust the process. Hard, not sharing anything that's easy to do, but it's what we have to do in a time such as this, because we honestly don't have a choice, right? It's like if we were ever trying to learn how to trust the process, this is a perfect learning opportunity, because we have no other choice but to to trust the process and trust that things are going to work out, trust that it's going to all fall into place, and trust ourselves while giving ourselves grace. There are going to be days where you're going to get absolutely nothing done because you just don't feel like it. You're not in the mood. It is my hope that professors, instructors, supervisors are being very graceful with deadlines, and I would assume that they would be, because essentially they're transitioning too. They're transitioning their families and their careers, and they weren't prepared for this either. So the thing is to realize that we're all kind of in this together, and if someone is more snappy than they might typically be, or they're popping off, or they seem to not be understanding, as you give yourself grace, give them grace also, right? And realize that this is the situation that we're in, and we're going to just have to navigate it the best way that we know how. So I say all that to say, do not allow this to get you overwhelmed. Easier said than done. Say it to yourself in the mirror 500 times if you have to. Read all the affirmations that you can think of or that you can find, but do whatever it is that you need to do for you to feel comfortable in this space. Don't feel like you need to make all the schedules and color code the notebooks and do all the things unless that's true to you. If that's true to your normal everyday being, to be very organized and create schedules and do things like that, so be it. If that's not natural to you, don't try to force yourself into it in a time like this when you're already changing and making a lot of rapid changes unexpectedly. So don't expect yourself to be able to just, someone's unmuted. If you will, just please mute your audio. Getting a little feedback from it. What was I saying? Keep not getting overwhelmed or intimidated by the way someone else is doing something, right? So other people may be just killing it at this thing, right? They might be just killing the game as it relates to transitioning to this pandemic. They're in love with the way this is going, but that might not be your narrative, and that's okay. It is okay to just be you in this season, right? Be you, do what works for you, and don't be afraid of what is happening. 3 people, I think, just joined on. If I can get you to mute your audio so we don't get any feedback. If you joined via the app or the computer, type in the chat where you're joining us from, like who you are, where you go to stuff. So yeah, not getting overwhelmed, and then moving on to my seniors and graduate students who might be, on the job search or was planning to go to like conferences and stuff to connect with people, to get into that market. Just a special shout out and a special breather, right? Finishing one chapter and going on to another is challenging enough outside of a virus and a pandemic happening. But in this time, it is going to be a difficult transition. I don't want to sugarcoat that, because the market and the diving into that was already a little shaky to navigate, but don't be afraid of it, right? This is a part of your journey, and I don't want to get too faith-based, because I want to be very open and inclusive that there may be folks who don't identify with being a believer, if you will, of anything. But what I will say is that no matter what you believe in, our lives have already been planned out for us. We're just here living them. So don't get overwhelmed when you're finishing a semester in grad school, or you're finishing grad school, or you're finishing undergrad, and you're now on the job search, and you're like, what in the world, right? I'm trying to figure out how to network and how to make connections and how to get my resume looking good, but nobody's thinking about hiring right now because we're in an international crisis. You don't have control over that. What you do have control over is the extra time that it gives you to perfect and work on you. So in those days that you do feel like going hard, in those days that you are like, you know what, I really want to work on myself, I really want to get some things done, those are the days for you to spruce up your LinkedIn. Those are the days for you to look up ways to secure jobs after school. Those are the days for you to look at people who are where you desire to be, like they are doing things, they have titles similar to the one you want, or they're running a business or an organization or something like the one you aspire to do. Those are the times when you can really research those folks, research their history, figure out how they got there, because we're going to survive this. And at the other side of this, folks are going to be looking for you. They're going to be hiring. They're going to be excited for new talent. But what did you do in the time that you had, the extra time, if you will, to get prepared? So if you look at this from an optimistic lens, having more autonomy of your schedule and your free time, it's going to be up to you to take some time off social. It's going to be up to you to say, all right, we got on Zoom or FaceTime, we cut up, we sent a few memes, I rested, I found peace in this. Yeah, I'm going to do some investing in myself and some investing into my future. I'm going to look into some things. There's no pressure here, right? There's no pressure in any of this. There's no pressure to figure it all out. There's no pressure to have the perfect resume or cover letter. There's no pressure to have this long list of, jobs that you want to do. However, there is a slight bit of responsibility that you do have to use this time wisely and use it to the best of your benefit, right? So a saying I love, inside and outside of a virus, is playing the hand you're dealt like it's the hand you want it. So I don't know if anybody on plays cards or has played cards, but if you're playing cards, whether it's Uno, spades, poker, whatever, when you're dealt a hand, you have no control over the cards that are given to you. But what you have to do is, if you're going to stay in the game, is play those cards. So we're going to play this pandemic like we knew it was coming, like we are super excited to have it, and that we are just stoked to be inside, right? Some of us need to sit down somewhere anyways, self-included. So let's use this time to invest in ourselves, to learn more about ourselves. The best person you can get to know now is you, because you guys spend a lot of time with you. And it sucks in certain situations when we think about birthdays and graduations and just being around folks that you are used to being around, transitioning your norm. It really sucks. So don't get too caught up in thinking about it. Think about how you can, pop wine and chill and enjoy it by yourself, or think about all that has happened to get you to this point of the next year of life or that next milestone. Just try to switch the narrative so that the glass is half full and never half empty, and realize that on the other side of this, you're going to be a lot stronger than you ever imagined, because it's about the flipping pandemic while being a student and trying to pass classes and sit and listen to, professors online, or there'll be professors who won't even do video. There'll be professors who don't even understand how to get their stuff online. So there's going to be a lot of transition, but trust in the process in this, and just giving yourself and others grace. I cannot say that enough. So I've been talking a lot. So if you want to either jump in the chat with either a question or a comment or some feedback, or you want to unmute your phone, if you decide to unmute, please let's do that one at a time so we don't get a lot of feedback. But I kind of want to hear from you. I want to know if this is beneficial. I want to know if there's something specific you would like for me to dive into. I wish I could just wipe this all away for all of us. I can't. And so we're just living in these times and trying to figure it out. And if you get in a situation where someone is not giving you grace, right, professor, supervisor, whatever, it is a reflection of them and not a reflection on you. It is my hope that you have good rapport with these people prior to this. They know your work ethic. They know the type of person that you are. So if you are behind on some things or you are having some challenges, your character prior to this should already speak to who you are, so that grace should be given to you. But in the case that it's not, realize it's not a reflection of you, and don't beat yourself up about it. And things are going to work themselves out the best way that they can. So let's talk. Let's chat. Let's something. It's some silence now. So either unmute or jump in the chat with questions, comments, concerns, feedback, anything that you might want to skim across before we depart from this space. I want to give you that open opportunity. We have a great group gathered here from various universities. and some recent grads. So feel free to pop in. Like Jeopardy. Super beneficial. Thank you for doing this. Oh, my pleasure, Erin. I really am glad that I could. This is something that outside of a pandemic, I don't know that I would be able or willing to make the time to do, but I just, my heart definitely just beats and bumps for students. A little about myself. I'm a serial crazy entrepreneur in these streets. I speak, I write. I am the executive director of a mentoring program. I coach creative female entrepreneurs to get to their destinies. But at the core of me, I love education. Like I said, I'm the executive director of a mentoring program. So I work directly with teenagers a lot. In that, I end up working a lot with students, still college students and graduate students, as I work with them throughout those programs. But before or along my journey, I worked in higher ed. And so I know that being a student is tough. I know that being a student comes with several challenges. I know that students bring various narratives to the table. And I know that especially fresh out of school, also, like, it's just transition on transition on transition every single day. So the thought of, an international crisis happening amidst you doing work, hats off, because I don't even know. Thank you so much for taking free time to give us advice. I really appreciate that. Yes, my pleasure. My pleasure, Shakira. How did you transition and cope post-graduating and dealing with not being around those people anymore? Oh my God. It was hard. It was very hard. So I'll tell a little bit of my stories to how I navigated it. When I graduated May of 2013, I did not leave my college town until December. No, actually until January. So I started working and I still lived in the area. So I would do some happy hours with some of my friends and sorority sisters. Not all of the time as I did, like, I didn't really do it a lot in college either, but I didn't do it a lot, but I would do it sometimes for that sense of peace and that sense of seeing them. And then I would go to some events maybe, but it was hard because I was very, very engaged in my collegiate environment, from just activities to people and all that. So I won't say that it was an easy transition because I did not move away the next day. For people who just move away, though it's hard, you're not there, so it's not as hard, because in that January, I left and went to South Florida. So I was 12 hours away. So at that point, I had no other choice but to create community elsewhere. But as I was transitioning while I was still in my college town, when I did not hang out with my friends or my sorority sisters or folks that were still in college after work, I tried to create community outside of that. So just strategically trying to create what my next level of community is going to look like, and realizing, that was great. That season has ended. It was hard. But just reminding myself that I can still talk to these people, that these people are still here. We're still, all alive and out here in this life, but, I'm now out of school. So I hope that helps. But that was my coping mechanism, was to still try to hang out some if I could, but realizing that I am in a different place in life now and I have to learn how to navigate that. And then when I got out of there, it was a different story. But as I was living there, just creating community with other people who had recently graduated and who were working and who were trying to figure this thing out called life, and giving myself grace, like allowing myself to say, you know what, I miss that, right? Because that has been my place for a while, so I miss it. So I hope that answers. Tips for online learning and studying. Oh, making a schedule in the most transparent way that translates with the way you typically operate. trying to make a schedule. So if your online environment is having like call-in meetings, I think some professors are doing. If they're doing that, you know, chime in. But if it's 3 hours long, if it's 2 hours long, it's an hour and a half long, you know, not saying don't pay attention, but you know, pay attention the best you can, but give yourself grace to get up, move around, make a hot pocket or something, and you know, take notes. Maybe record it if it's not going to be automatically recorded. Record it so that you have access to it later and you're able to go back to it, because you may not get it the same way you would in class since that on-hands engagement isn't going on. So that's some tips for if there will be video, if there won't be video, really diving into your reading and your assignments. And it's something that we don't do enough of when we're in-person class, I feel. I know I didn't do enough of it, but online learning did give me an opportunity to kind of do more work and learn more, because you are also now at your own pace. Especially if there are loose deadlines. If there's loose deadlines, you're now really on your own pace. And so as you begin to work through what your new schedule and your new norm will be, a tip, I think, is to figure out what times of day you soak in information the best and use that time to your advantage, so that's when you're diving into your learning and you're studying. And maybe you are really good at, like, for 1 hour, I'm going to like put my phone on do not disturb, turn it upside down. I'm going to dive into this, right? Hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever your increment is. And then after that, I'm going to take a break for 30 minutes and I'm all on social. I need all the memes, and then I'll get back to this later. Or maybe you're like a 30-minute here, 30-minute there type person. Give yourself the autonomy to really dive into your new learning style and figuring out what works for you, and ask others that you would typically study with or be in class with or chop it up with, have lunch with. Ask them, you know, what they are doing and how they are coping with this, and what are some tips that they have integrated into their life for that class. And realizing that all those classes are probably going to look different, because if it's something, you know, theory-based versus something research-based versus something kind of opinionated, they're all going to have their own kind of ebbs and flows the same way they do in typical class. But with your online setting, completely online, really figuring that piece out, right? So hope that helps. Those are some tips that, you know, have worked for Tiny Tab. Turn that phone over and just dive into it. And then after that, I need to take a break, okay? Like a break. And we can dive more into any of these if you want. I'm accessible, and Rona got me home. So I'm working, and I have a to-do list, both at home and at Bay's house, that I want to like knock out. There's some stuff I want to clean up and do things like that. But I do have a very flexible schedule, more flexible than I have seen in years, because Rona got me home. Tips on attending graduate school. I know that every program is different. Anyone willing to share their experience thus far pre-Rona? Sally just shared in the chat, Sinclair, and I'm going to read it out loud just in case there's someone joining on the phone. So Sinclair's question was tips on attending graduate school. I know that every program is different. Anyone willing to share their experience so far? I went through college on my own. I had great advisors that kept me positive and pushed me forward. My family wasn't there for me, and even during crisis, my God, I feel with you. I have been keeping myself positive and telling myself that this is only temporary and this too shall pass. I'm a graduate student who dreams of being a teacher and mentor. I work as one right now. I'm taking this time to prove to my administration that there is more to me. Prove to my administration that there is more to me. I'm not full certified yet. I'm taking this time to study and plan the next year. It has been lonely. My life was finally getting on track, but now I have to be still and gain weight. Wow. Be still and know, though, Sally, you have survived, and this is to anyone, you have at this current moment and at any time, you have survived 100% of your bad days, right? So none of us have ever been in a pandemic, but I'm sure we've had some personal or family related or friend related or circle related pandemics in our own lives, in our own silos. We have survived, the passings of people. We've survived rejection. We've survived challenging structures and home situations, breakups. We've just survived anything that was meant to harm us or to take us out or to literally just ruin us. We've already survived it, and we will and we can survive this too. So in your own personal testimony, what it may look like, you survived it because you're still here. We talking, you made it. So remembering that, like, you're stronger than you give yourself credit. You're smarter than you give yourself credit. You're wiser than you give yourself credit. So this is a great time to tap into and wrap into all that, right? All of it. Sinclair, my graduate study trajectory was a little weird. I had absolutely no intentions on going to graduate school. But I was blessed with an amazing opportunity, and I kind of sat on it. I was a little nervous. So I didn't want to take the GRE, to be completely honest. But I took it. I did okay, not great, not horrible. I did okay, but the rest of my packet was top notch. My recommendation letters were top notch. My transcript for what it was pretty good. And my first master's, I did educational leadership. And so I was looking for programs that were willing to pay for me to be there and me not have to pay them to be there. And that was exactly what I found. I also was looking for some different things as it relates to faculty and advising. I didn't necessarily know that that's what I was looking for, but I was looking for people who are willing to help students meet students where they are, and not try to create them to be them. I don't want to be a mini you. I want to be a me, right? I don't want to be another version of you. I want to be the best version of myself. And in my interview with my advisor, it clicked, just like that. She understood my narrative and everything that I brought to the table, more than I even did, right? She understood what that transition was going to be like for, a true Southern girl to transition to, South Florida and matriculate in a pretty competitive program. And so I was glad that we had that connection. She understood that, yes, I worked at the university as a graduate assistant, but I also had to have another job outside of that to survive. And I was very transparent with her about that. She was very understanding. So that supportive piece was important to me. I think I survived undergrad because of strong support. So I knew I needed strong support in the academic space. And I don't advise attending or seeking out graduate study just to say you did it, right? In what way, if you were planning out your life today in a quote unquote perfect world, what is your reason for wanting to go? What step does it lead you to next? Is there a need for maybe a gap year? Is there a need for maybe, a gap 6 months? That's what I did. I worked in a 6-month period. Not only was I burnt out from school, but like I said, I wasn't planning, to go to graduate school. But I think taking some time, and this is some perfect time to dive into different programs, comparing programs, looking at the communities that are around. Sinclair, we're sorority sisters, so maybe looking into, what's available in the area that you desire to live as it relates to connecting with your organization. Making sure that the whole person can be served. You may only be there for a year, 2 years, 3 years. I'm not certain as to what you decide to study, but depending on that, making sure that you're taking your whole self into consideration as you're choosing a place to study. So hope that helps. What helpful and encouraging words can you provide to graduating seniors who have essentially lost what is supposed to be the most memorable semester of their lives? Wow. This one is hard. So for my high school seniors and some college seniors that I'm connected to, I gave them permission to feel. And what I'm doing now is pulling up a message that I sent in hopes that it could be some help too. Lord, I sent a lot of messages, but I am giving them permission to feel, because to be completely honest, there aren't words, right? There aren't words, and it's okay to be honest about that. Like, there really aren't words. This is very hard to hard pill to swallow. It's like losing a best friend, dog getting run over, something like that. Like, it's really hard, and it's yes, people want to know about networking. Yes, people want to hear that life goes on. Yes, people want to know, like, we're gonna survive this. But it's hard to say all of that when some of the most amazing moments are just being snatched from you. It's at no control. So trying to hear them, trying to remind them that they are thought about in this time is really the best or most helpful thing I feel can be done. I think it's very encouraging. I think it's very just welcoming and opening to know someone cares, right? To know someone cares and isn't just like pushing over, like, oh, well, senior year, let's get on to work, or, oh, well, you're not gonna get to do this thing you wanted to check off your list before you leave college, not just like brushing it off, but really being there. I think it is it, and what sounds good or what's going to make feel good kind of depends on the student, right? And we know that as you're just working with people, every person is different. There are going to be people who are going to try to ignore it and pretend like they don't care. There are going to be people that are all in their feelings. There are going to be people that are somewhere in between. So really gauging that as you talk to seniors, or as you connect with friends or students that you supervise, or any of that, and giving grace. So this was a message that I sent out. It said, hey, just checking in to let you know I'm praying for you. I hate all of this is happening during your last days of school. It is my hope and prayer that your big events aren't ultimately canceled, and I'm sending much love. It was very simple, very genuine, very, very much tiny tab. That's something I would say, in light of many, it's something else, but being genuine, being real, right? Because in the world of many words, there are none to stitch up something such as this, right? And Lord knows I can find a word for anything, but it's just showing compassion and knowing that they're seen, and sharing that though you don't ultimately understand because you're not in their shoes, but you understand how tough it can be, and you're there, right? And you're there. Similar to this space that we have right now, right? Like, I cannot give, all the amazing answers, or just like, oh, yes, I just talked to Tabby now. Oh, I feel amazing about the pandemic. You might get off of this and still be in a rut about the pandemic. But what you do know is that someone cared. What you do know is there was time carved out to give you the opportunity and the autonomy to just feel, right? And to be, and to share, and to connect, and to realize that there are other people going through challenges, right? So I think that's the piece, Michaela. And I said a lot, not to say much, but I hope that in some of that there were some answers or some nuggets that you can take away and weave them together to be supportive to folks who are, right now. So I'm gonna take a drink. Wet my whistle. Y'all. It's quite my pleasure. Like, it has been quite my pleasure. Anybody else want to chime in, either chiming in with a question or chiming in with the comments? I am just grateful that you're up and in this space and here for this, because I hesitated a bit. I didn't really know if it would be useful, because it's such a crazy time. I didn't know if there were any words, like any, to to come. I want to give a big shout out to both Michaela and Sinclair. They hit me up on different words, but similar things of saying, can you show up, right? Is there anything you can say? And it was an honor to be asked, right? An honor to be asked that there might be a word that I have for a time like this. It's super challenging. And what I do on the normal is share motivation and inspiration and inspire. And so, if we don't have any more comments, I'll say a word of encouragement. I'm not, like I said, I want this to remain inclusive. I don't deny that. I'm a believer in God, and I pray the blood of Jesus, and I'll fall out and shout and do all the things. But this is a space that I want to remain inclusive, and I want it to be open and non-intimidating for anyone. So I'm not going to necessarily close out in prayer, but I am going to close out in motivation, if you will, just to say that I am giving you the permission that you don't need to exist. I'm giving you the permission that you don't need to be. I'm giving you the permission that you're often robbed of because you are expected to be all the things for all the people at all the times, when it's honestly never humanly possible to do that. So I'm giving you permission to simply be you, giving you permission to navigate this situation the best way you know how, whether you feel like you're killing it some days, you're horrible some days, you want to just lay. Don't allow yourself to get in any sunken places. Don't allow yourself to fall too hard, but allow yourself to simply be. Whether you need to start doing some breathing exercises or implementing yoga, working out, going outside, taking a walk, connecting with people that bring you joy in the normal times, that bring you joy, figuring out just what works for you, and remembering that what works today might not be what works next week, might not be what works next month, but it's working right now, right? And if it's working right now, we are in a right now time. We are not in a time where we have to have it figured out. We're not in a time where we have to just no. We're not in that time. And that's hard. It's hard to just be, but I want to give you the permission that you don't necessarily mean, but it feels good to know that you can simply be. Give yourself grace, give others grace, breathe, find your happy place, and realize that, just as Sally said earlier, this too shall pass, right? This too shall pass. It's not going to be like this always. Either it's going to change or we're all going to get wiped out by the virus. But what's not going to happen is these times won't be here always. And find maybe for you, it's like me. Finding laughter in some of this, it calms me. It's not that I think this is a joke. I know that this is serious, right? Like, my life has been drastically impacted, but I don't have time to sit and think about that. What I much rather do is to laugh and find joy and find ways to keep myself, occupied, while also allowing myself to simply be, allowing myself to rest in this, allowing myself to connect with amazing young leaders who just might need someone to listen, right? Might not need someone to give all the answers, because they ain't none, okay? None of us have any. Have you heard the president? Have you heard the press releases from various states? Nobody really knows what's going on. Nobody really has answers. But what we do have is the ability to be, and the ability to give grace, and the ability to be humans, right? So don't hoard supplies, don't get overwhelmed, don't get sunk in the media, whether that's news or social or blogs or whatever. Don't get sunk into anything. That just be, and allow yourself to figure it out every single day. I made this to-do list yesterday. It was super long. I didn't knock all of it out. In the norm, I would get super overwhelmed, be mad at myself, whatever. I was like, you know what? Got time tomorrow. and I'll go back at it again today, right? So go back at it each and every day. And on the other side of this, y'all, we gonna be all right. We gonna be all right. So thank you so much. for those who kind of bullied me to make this happen, but it wasn't bullying. It was just a little nudge, something I needed to be doing, something I need to be giving for a time such as this. So thank y'all. Thank everyone for tuning in and being here today. Thank you for, inviting others to this space and making it an open and inclusive environment, making it engaging, sharing, not just where you're from, but also some of the challenges that you're having. This is hard. So knowing that there are other people who, have questions, who don't have it figured out, who are also struggling with getting, work done online, allow yourself to be in all of it. The work, the future, the current, all of it. Allow yourself to be. I could say that all day, but I'm not. We're going to get off this. And we're going to have an amazing day. We're going to survive this pandemic. And when it's in the history books, we're going to be like, we killed that. We made it through. And in light of it somewhat ruining or changing the way we celebrate things, it's still people's senior years. It's your birthdays and stuff are still going to come. They're still going to happen. The events that we wanted to go to that we can't attend now, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Life is going to go on, but not in a non-caring way, but in a way to say, you know what? My senior year, I survived a flipping pandemic. I invested in myself. I learned about myself. I gave myself permission to be. I met strangers online. I did all types of things I would have never imagined. And after that thing, I had an amazing celebration with my families and friends and went on a trip and did this and that. So there's going to be a story after this. So allow yourself to be, allow yourself to live, and know that Tiny Tab is giving you the permission to simply be. And that is that on that. Thank y'all so much for being here and trying your best to find your new normal and interject happy into your new normal. So have a great day, everyone. If anyone wants to,
I hope that was amazing. As stated earlier, feel free to reach out and connect to me, www.tabithadjames.com. Miss Tabitha D _ on Twitter and Instagram, Tabitha D James on Facebook and LinkedIn. Connect if you just need a pick me up. Shoot me a text, let me know, and I'll try my best to just provide some encouragement. No answers here. Who knows what's going on? Who knows how long this will last? And who knows what things will look like after this? But I just want to provide just inspiration. That's it. All right. Until next time. Catch you later.